Good afternoon, on what is a mild, bright and sunny day. It is Friday the 5th of January and I'm in the Read Nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And a parcel to unbox. So this has come from drive-through, you can tell by the packing. So, figures down there. And what I've got in there is that. This is OpenQuest Dungeons from D101 Games. So OpenQuest Dungeons, D100 Gaming made easy. Welcome to the world of the dungeon done D100 style. Ease yourself and your players into the opportunities that OpenQuest provides. Inside this book, you'll find the following: OpenQuest for quests for Dungeoneers explains differences between the D20 and D100 games. 12 stock non-player characters for use as retainers and opposition. 26 traps to make the characters' lives tricky. 4 new underworld deities for the dungeon. 3 dungeon adventures of increasing length and complexity: the well, deep in the hole, and the sorcerer under the mountain. Now, OpenQuest is essentially a basic role-playing system, fantasy system that is not dissimilar to RuneQuest, but much more scaled down, much more broad in its application of its mechanics. So, for example, instead of individual weapons, you'll just have a melee skill, for example. So much broader skills, and so on. So we open up the page and we get to the cover and credits and contents page. Nice artwork there. We get into the introduction, and we've got that's a kobold, I would think. Basically, introduction, setting things up, talking about things like, the all meet the tavern, which is the kind of classic setup you have in a fantasy role-playing game. Oh, when you start the adventure, you all meet the tavern. What the book sets out to do, explaining its purpose, and telling you what's in the book. So, OpenQuest for Dungeoneers, the world's favourite fantasy role-playing game versus D100. So, of course, Dungeons and Dragons dominates the market. It's the world leader. It's the world's most popular role-playing game. That's not going to change anytime soon, or even, ever for the moment, or certainly for the foreseeable future. So this explains the differences between the two. I don't know whether that's really kind of superfluous, because essentially how many people are going to make the step over from the D20 system games like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition to OpenQuest is open to debate. It'd be lovely what would happen, but who knows. Anyway, so different character species options for your characters for OpenQuest Dungeons, including we've got the dwarf, duck, elf, complete with illustrations. There we've got duck, dwarf, elf. Or sorry, that's dwarf, duck, elf. Oddly, they've got the duck before the dwarf. Ready-made concepts for Dungeoneers, so things like fighter, thief, cleric, so on, and things like, rules on here, how to grow. So this is the fighter section. You've got a guide there on how to grow the fighter as the into the role as his adventures play out in the dungeon. And it does the same thing for the thief and then the cleric. And then look at the wizard. So you've got the 4 classic classes of Dungeons and Dragons style fantasy, but of course translated here into a D100, a basic role-play style role-playing game. And then so I'm talking about culture in OpenQuest, multi-classing, dungeoneer actions, backstabbing, breaking down doors, the sort of actions that you do when you're dungeoneering. And this is all, the other thing this is sort of vaguely similar to is a role-playing game called Mythras, which does a supplement called classic Mithras classic fantasy, which does Dungeons and Dragons style play, but for Mithras, and it's another percentile system. So you are not free of choices when it comes to percentile systems to do your fantasy. So even the concepts as saving throws are in here, skills, alignment, are all discussed. We have some stock non-player characters, including archer, cavalry, elite warrior, noble, outlaw, poor quality soldier, you know, all available to hire or basically to be developed by your game master as opposition, scout, skirmisher, battle magician, war, sorcery adept. There we go. Ready to bring to the table, drop into the game. Initiate the Sun King, priest of the Sun King. The last of the basic examples of cult members. And then we took to go to talking about how to handle traps in OpenQuest. Traps, of course, are a big feature of that style of play because, you know, essentially they're meant to test the players and the characters. So we've got rules here for making, detection, disarm, skill tests. Interesting rule there. My rule 13: no traps survives contact with the players. I've got the traps list here, and an explanation of the format before we get into the actual traps themselves. So we start off with acid pool, bear trap, blocks falling, breaking blades, classic traps that you would expect to see, or in a Dungeons and Dragons style classic dungeon, translated into another rule system here. Not the first time it's been done. And the other thing about this is once you've seen how the adaptation works for one type of trap, you can look at another type of trap, perhaps one that's not listed in here, and work out how it's done. You know, so if you had a big book of Grimtooth traps, you could work your way through that and adapt it if you wanted to. So you've even got the classic Rolling Stone, so if you really want to be doing the whole Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark opening scene, you can. Slime pool, sword trap, spike trap, spiked pit trap. All, I mean, really, I like about this is that the illustrations are excellent. You know, just really good for what they are. You know, it's a case of, oh, I'm really going to take my time to illustrate these and show you what they look like. And of course, you can actually use these, I would have thought, as player handouts to some extent, as long as they're not showing quite the trap in working, but there's no reason why not. Then after all the traps, we move on to underworld deities. So we've got Lord of the Pit, the Formless Thing, the Rat Goddess, and the Underdeath. So these are all creatures essentially that were gods that perhaps the NPCs can worship, or even, you know, it might well be you might have depending upon the setting, the characters could worship. But anyway, then we get into the adventures. We have the Well, nice, short, simple dungeon layout that can be played through in a session easily. So you've got preparation for the adventure, setting everything up with the background at locations above ground, move on to below ground, resolution of the whole encounter. Then we've got stats for NPC stats for Rengo the Goblin Scout and the Zombie Goblin. That one looks to be quite fun, and also a Demon Dog. And the thing is, you know, there's nothing to stop a game master who's got a copy of this taking this the other way. Doesn't have to run it in OpenQuest. You can adapt that scenario just as easily into this system of her choice. So next one is Deep in the Hole. So the player's introduction, referee's introduction, and then we've got a classic kind of setup here. You know, village in peril. I'm betting. Without even glancing at it, that's kind of the classic setup for this kind of adventure. And the villagers spearing, no doubt inspired by friends of the designers. One Graham spearing. Then we have how to start the quest, getting involved, rumours to be found at the trading post, and detailing the adventure, the village, basically from where the adventure starts. and there's even got a castle. And then the dungeon, the hole, and there's the map. That's one of the monsters that will be encountered. So we get down to, you know, basically room by room descriptions, resolution of the scenario, non-player characters. So you've got various personalities in Spearing Village, or the village of Spearing, because I don't think that the village is actually spearing anything. So various NPCs. And then we move on to the goblins there, nicely armoured down the hole. And various other monsters that the player characters will encounter on their quest to investigate the hole. Then the third and final scenario is the Sorcerer Under the Mountain. This one is, as you can see, much longer. You've got setup, guide to preparation. You've got you know, description of the non-surrounding, sorry, the non-human surrounding lands. Nature of the quest discussed up here, nice and simple. Before you get on to the Sorcerer Under the Mountain, sort of big classic dungeon, lots of semi-random rooms, decent layout. You know, which you equal to that, you will perhaps see an adventure for, say, Old School Essentials, or if you're old enough, in the pages of White Dwarf in the late 70s and early 80s. Then, so you've got like 36, 37 locations there, then the NPCs again, so you've got Gold Rush in Scarwood, Dwarf Miner, other NPCs, including the Smiling Devils clan, the orcs to be encountered, even a goblin loony, and a terracotta army, and what's this? A proto-terracotta warriors. So, you know, you've got clay warriors and then unfired clay warriors, undead servants, other monsters, including frogmen, and a pit beast, and details about magical item there, the mask, and there we have it. That is OpenQuest Dungeons from D101 Games. Well, I look forward to giving that a proper review at some point. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you take the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a package containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.